Back to KTN News Desk, and Supreme Court has instructed the Senate and the National Assembly to constitute teams that will sit in the mediation team in line with Article 113 of the Constitution of Kenya. Governors had returned to court for further hearing of Division of Revenue Bill 2019. The next hearing of the Revenue Bill petition has been scheduled for 16th of September this year.
Started in February. There have been mediations, informal and formal, from the end of February when this process started. Actually, as far as I know, probably even earlier. Our concern, my lords, is that while the mediation processes must be encouraged, those mediation processes must not lead to a process.
Right, let's talk to our reporter, Mark Namaso, who's been following up that hearing since morning. And Namaso, it's been quite some back and forth trip between the courts and the so-called mediation talks. Kenyans are running out of patience, even with the ongoing strike by some county workers. And of course, kindly also bring us up to date with what happened in the court this morning.
We are running out of patience, running out of time, and the counties are running out of cash. And disappointing to note that when both the National Assembly as well as the Senate were giving their updates to the Supreme Court today concerning the Division on Revenue Bill 2019, it emerged that they had not constituted the mediation team. All this while we were thinking that they had teams that were mediating concerning the division of revenue bill. It had not happened. In fact, we are informed that the list from the National Assembly was completed yesterday, and the Senate, instead of the requisite number of 9 members to the mediation team, they had only 5. And today, just as we left the court, they were going to fill in the remaining 4 so that they can have the number balanced at 9-9. So it is an issue that is bringing a lot of disappointment from the side of Kenyans. And looking at what devolution means and the aspirations that Kenyans had concerning devolution, it's quite disappointing to note that these are what has been happening behind the scenes for now. Now, the Supreme Court has instructed both the National Assembly and the Senate, who are warring parties in this push and pull concerning the Division of Revenue Bill 2019, to go out and constitute those teams. So as we are now, the Senate is going to add 4 other members to the initial number of 5 so that they can have a balance of 9-9. Now, they had requested to be given about a month to be able to come to a resolution concerning the amounts of money that we have been looking at. The National Assembly stands for 316 billion shillings to be disbursed to the counties, while the Senate has insisted on 335. So those are some of the matters that they will be discussing in the coming few days. Now, looking at it this way, Parliament is on a short break, which means if they have to come together and ratify the numbers of those 9 representatives they're having to, or they're sending to the mediation teams, it means they have to call for a special sitting. So both the National Assembly and the Senate have to call for special sittings so that they can ratify the numbers of 9 representatives that they will send to the mediation team so that they can discuss and agree on a figure. They have been pulling and pushing each other, one saying we need 316 billion to be sent to the counties, which is a slight increase from what we had last year, and the Senate insisting on 335 billion shillings. The Senate had at some point come down to a compromise of some 327 billion shillings, but this again was shot down at the National Assembly. Then another matter that is coming up, apart from the tussle or the push and pull between the National Assembly and the Senate, is a gap in the law. Who is mandated by the law? Is it the upper house or the lower house that is mandated with initiating this bill? Because if the Senate proposes a figure of 335 billion shillings and tables it before the National Assembly, and the National Assembly disagrees with that, they shoot it down. If the National Assembly proposes that we should have 316 billion shillings sent to the counties and tables this before the Senate, because the Senate had its bill shot down, it also revenges by shooting down the bill that has been presented or that has originated from the National Assembly. So that is where we are today. So looking forward, we are hoping and praying that these mediation teams will be constituted soonest, and that they will come to an agreement before the September 16th deadline that they have been given by the Supreme Court. But as it is now, counties are grappling with cash shortages. Others have tried to source for funds from wherever they can, but some counties like Kisumu, I understand, there have been demos concerning the payment of salaries. Some counties had a backlog of 2 months arrears salaries, and some 1 month. Many of them have tried to find alternative sources of funding and fill in the gap. But as it is now, there is a level of disillusionment across the counties concerning the cash that is supposed to be disbursed. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Mark Namaswa. Always a pleasure talking to you, giving us the latest detail of what happened.